PXN goes DD? What's the result? Don't ask Santa until you've asked us. Greetings Romy, you're watching WromWrom, the channel sharing the joy of sim racing. Today we're once again reviewing a sim racing product that could interest you. Thanks to all those who come here often, especially those who subscribe, and even more, our patrons. My name is Serta and I will be your host for this video. Well, I suppose I should not be surprised seeing PXN, known for their entry-level products, making their own entry-level direct drive product. In fact, they've gone all the way with a 4 Nm, 6 Nm and 10 Nm base, 3 wheels and a set of pedals, which we'll review later. For this review we got the 10 Nm base, the not surprisingly called VD10, as well as 2 other wheels, the round WCS-R2 and the D-shaped WDS-R2, which is a bit smaller. With prices ranging between €340 and €560 or 330 USD and 540 USD respectively, they put themselves cozily in between other offerings in the market at the same level. The 10 Nm base is cheaper than a 12 Nm Asetek La Prima base or Fanatec CSL DD QR base with 8 Nm and at a similar level than, for example, the Simagic Alpha Evo. But are they worth it? Let's go check the base and the wheels out. The base is very easy to set up and fit our SimLab test rig like a glove. While it only uses 4 bolts that look rather thin to me, once on the rig, the base was stable and firm and survived many of my actions, no matter what I did. Other than that, I just needed to put it on the main socket and connect through USB, and it's a small base too at 15.5 cm, excluding the QR. Ignore the big switch, that's from the Asetek and I didn't want to take it out of the base. PXN uses their own bayonet style QR and putting the wheels on it is a small hassle, but nothing to write home about. Just make sure you lock it right and that the wheel is secured in its place, and just like the base, the wheels don't budge, have no play and fit well onto the base. As an aside, when I changed the wheels in between sessions but leaving the PXN software active, the software did recognize I changed the wheel but continued acting as if I still had the old wheel on. Restarting the software and replugging the wheel did the trick though. A hassle at most, but PXN may want to look at it. More about the software later. Both wheels, as I said, fit well into the QR and are well assorted with buttons, rotaries and a funky switch. And the middle button can be used too, so honk if you like this video, or better, like it and subscribe to the channel, but honk too. Both wheels have 4 paddles, 2 for gear shifting and the other 2 for a clutch, for example, but I know some drivers who have other purposes for them, especially people with mobility issues using them as throttles and brake. As you can assign all buttons and paddles any way you like, you can use them as you like. The paddles can be moved further out if you want to, the Allen key needed for that is included in the package. The gear shift paddles have a noticeable click point, something that cannot be said about the buttons and rotaries. It's okay, but not at the excellent level of other, for sure, higher priced wheels in the market. The low price has to come from somewhere, right? While I had no mishaps using the buttons or rotaries, I prefer a good tactile feedback, especially as I use gloves to drive. On the bigger wheel, the CSR2 with 330mm, the button positioning is not of my liking. I have big hands and still I had issues reaching most of the buttons with my thumbs. That is not a problem I had with the D-shaped DSR2 at 300mm, but the funky switch is a bit in the way of one of the buttons, so you may want to assign that one to something you seldom need. And especially nothing you need in the middle of a race. Oh yeah, and the, let's call them clutch paddles on that one offered a bit more resistance, which I prefer in a clutch. The PXN software is okay, but it could be much better. In my experience, the software is always the weakest point in Chinese products for whatever reason. And this software is no exception. While it's not a catastrophe by any means and it helps you get the base honed in, there's strange things like sending a preset to the wheelbase and then seeing it used at the top of the software while the lower part of the software acts as if you never chose anything. Baffling to me. Also, I found most of the presets rather bad and had to change many settings in them to get the force feedback the way I want. As these may be down to personal likes and dislikes, I won't count it against PXN, but the presets of other companies are better in my opinion and don't need that much fiddling. It also depends on the sim. I found the preset for ACC quite fitting, while the presets for LMU were incredibly difficult. And with that, we've reached the subjective opinion part of the video. Let's go to the usual question. If you like what we're doing here on WromWrom and want to support us, it's easy, just a few clicks. Like, subscribe and set the notification bell. Takes less than a Hamilton pit stop. Thanks for your support. In sim racing, cheaper offerings have to cut corners compared to pricier choices, no doubt about it. The question is how important those cut corners are to you, which is something we always leave to your discretion. One place where PXN for sure cut corners is in the tactile feedback of buttons and rotaries, which is okay but not comparable to the excellent engineering of GSI or Bavarian SimTech, to name two examples. Of course, the PXN wheels cost a fraction of the price. The market they are aiming at is different for sure. And it's not as if the buttons would not work or would perform poorly. As I said, I had no problems and no mishaps. Another place they cut corners is the software. Like the buttons, it's okay, it's functional, but it could be better. But again, better means spending more time fine-tuning it, and time is money. But now we come to the real clunker, in my opinion. Software is not only what you see on the computer in front of you, but also means firmware, and there's the rub. The force feedback of the bass is not bad. The centering force is there, the direct drive feeling is there, at least at the level similar basses deliver. But for one, the presets are rather meh, and you will spend some time fiddling with them. For the other, the force feedback of the bass could be better. Similar basses like Asetek's La Prima offer better force feedback, but of course the La Prima costs kinda double as much. Sometimes the force feedback felt like the firmware developers didn't use the whole gamut of precision the 24-bit controller can deliver and went with a lower resolution when translating the data of the sim for the bass. I got the feeling the bass would be able to deliver better force feedback if the firmware would tell it to. A missed opportunity for sure, and a corner that PXN in my opinion should not have cut. That said, the firmware gets regular updates and one can but hope they are able to make the translation sim to bass more precise and better fine-tuned. For this price, this is a good entry-level DD bass, but you'll have to decide for yourself if you want to invest in the hopes the firmware gets better in the future. It's okay at the moment, but it could be so much better. The wheels are, again, okay for the price, even if I would advise PXN to rethink the positioning of the buttons, especially the funky switch on the D-shaped DS-R2. It's a solid entry, not revolutionary, not game-changing, but very solid and on line with other affordable entry-level DDs. I don't want to compare apples and oranges, so I won't compare the PXN offering to higher-priced offerings. For this price, and not having tested the SimMagic, the PXN offer is an okay offer, especially if you are looking for entry-level prices. Sadly, the soft and firmware are not on par with the rest of the quality of the product, especially the bass. With any luck, this is something PXN will be able to fix in future updates of both.